Retiring early sounds nice, right? Well, the question that we all have is, how do we make that dream a reality? Well, in this video, I'm gonna make it really easy for you because I'm gonna give you 5 different ways that you can achieve FIRE and how they work so that you can ultimately decide which path to FIRE works best for you. So when it comes to the FIRE movement, we have to understand that the movement itself is really a spectrum. There are different ways and different strategies in which to achieve early retirement. That means that the FIRE movement in and of itself is very flexible and in many ways is very personal and subjective. There's no one way to do it. In fact, when the FIRE movement became popular about a decade ago, there were only a handful of ways and methods in which early retirement was presented. But if you look today, there are like tons of different strategies and methods. Now, we won't go over every single method out there because I think it's impossible. People are inventing new methods all the time, but we're gonna go over arguably one of the most popular ways or the most well-known ways to achieve FIRE. And then that way you can see which strategy resonates the most with you. So let's recap real quick. What is FIRE? FIRE stands for Financial Independence, Retire Early. And essentially, you achieve FIRE when you get to the point where all of your wealth and your assets are enough for you to be able to live off of in early retirement so that you don't need to rely on a job or employer, and you're able to live off of that income without ever having to worry about your money running out. So essentially, it should sustain you for the rest of your life once you retire. How do you know what that magic number is that you need for your early retirement? Well, that is known as the FIRE number, which is essentially what you project that you're gonna need to sustain you throughout early retirement. And that number can essentially be determined by back of the napkin math. To achieve this number, FIRE seekers aim to employ different strategies like living below their means or at least keeping their expenses lower than what they bring in. And then they aim to up their savings rate. Then they'll take their savings and invest that in assets like stocks, index funds, or real estate. Now, once you reach your FIRE number and you're ready to retire early, you'll need to employ a withdrawal strategy for you to be able to live off of your assets. Now, one of the more popular withdrawal strategies that you'll hear about is the 4% rule, which is based off of a study that came out of Trinity University in the late 90s. Now, that 4% rule basically states that you'll be able to withdraw 4% of your retirement portfolio every year, and theoretically, depending on your allocations, you'll never run out of money. In fact, your portfolio, in most cases, will actually continue to grow. A very simple example of this is, let's just say your portfolio is worth $1.5 million at retirement. If you withdraw 4% of $1.5 million, that gives you $60,000 to live off of in that year. Now, it gets a little bit more complex than that, and I'll do a future video where I'll go into some of the nuances of the 4% rule. But the idea behind it is, if you're withdrawing 4% of your portfolio, but your portfolio through the stock market is averaging about 10% a year if it's tracking the stock market, then that leaves you with 6% to account for inflation and also continued growth for your portfolio. Just keep in mind that the Trinity study didn't account for early retirement. In fact, they only tested portfolios up to 30 years. So a lot of people, just to be safe, they opt for a smaller withdrawal strategy, which means they need a bigger FIRE number. But we'll talk about that in a later video. So now that you're caught up to speed with how to achieve FIRE, let's look at different methods and ways that you can use to achieve early retirement. Lean FIRE. FIRE for the minimalist. Lean FIRE, aka frugal FIRE, is where you seek to achieve a modest and frugal retirement. Now, when a lot of people think of the FIRE movement or early retirement, they think of the lean FIRE scenario. You know, the scenario where you have the struggling millennial who lives in a shoebox of an apartment, eating rice and beans out of cans just to save every single penny because they don't make a lot of money at work. They don't hang out with their friends, they don't take any trips or vacations, they don't buy any nice things. They simply just do this for about 10 years every single day until they reach their FIRE number. Now, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. To each his own, most definitely when it comes to early retirement. But in actuality, I would say that most lean FIRE pursuers are really just minimalists who just want to live well below their means so that they're able to up their savings rate even more. And they do reasonably so delay a lot of gratification. Maybe they won't take that trip. Maybe they won't eat out nearly as much as they used to. Or maybe they'll go out with their friends, but they won't pay for any drinks at the bar. Hashtag pregame. Lean FIRE seekers might be happy living off of $30,000 per year in a low cost of living area just to be able to regain control of their time and live life the way they want to without having to go to work or report to a boss or employer. If you take that example of $30,000 and you use the 4% rule, that gives you $750,000 that you would need to have saved and invested to be able to retire off of $30,000 per year. So the pros of lean FIRE is you typically don't have to save up as much because your early retirement will be more frugal, which also means that you'll be able to achieve FIRE much sooner. Fat FIRE. FIRE for the maximalists. Now, on the other side of the spectrum, we have FAT FIRE. This is the FIRE for those who don't want the limitation of a frugal lifestyle to be their early retirement. They want to be able to live it up. They want to be able to buy nice things. They want to be able to travel and spend their money in early retirement. Typically, FAT FIRE seekers are higher income earners. They might have jobs that provide them a lot of income, and so they're able to scale back their life now so that they could save much more for their future so that they can retire with a much bigger nest egg. Now, a typical scenario for someone who is pursuing FAT FIRE could be someone who makes an income of $300,000 per year, but they're able to live way below their means and keep their expenses at, say, $50,000 a year. So that gives them $250,000 a year that they could save and invest. And in 10 years, you have a portfolio worth millions of dollars. So using the 4% rule, if you want to live off of $100,000 per year, that means you will need to have a nest egg of $2.5 million. Not a bad way to retire now, is it? By the way, if you're getting any value out of this video, do me a big favor, hit that like button so that I know how many FIRE starters there are watching this video. Now, the next three types of FIRE are much more flexible, hybrid approaches to FIRE and are attractive to people like myself who want to still remain active in their early retirement. Barista FIRE. FIRE for the part-timer. The idea behind Barista FIRE comes from the fact that Starbucks offers health insurance to their part-time employees. Though you don't have to work at Starbucks to pursue Barista FIRE, you can consider combining early retirement with working part-time or pursuing a job or career that you're more passionate about with less pay. Now, this FIRE route allows you to achieve a smaller FIRE number because you don't have to fully rely on your retirement nest egg. You can use your part-time job to help you supplement your cost of living or to supplement health insurance costs for you. The benefit to this type of FIRE is that you remain active working the job that you want to work, or at least a job that you don't mind doing, for lesser pay and less hours so that you'll be able to spend your time the way that you want to. Coast FIRE. FIRE for the pre-planner. Now, Coast FIRE is like purchasing retirement on layaway. Is layaway still even a thing? So the idea behind Coast FIRE is that you're able to front load your retirement portfolio. In other words, you'll be able to build up your portfolio up front, and once you reach a certain number, you don't invest in that portfolio anymore because you're just gonna give it time to grow and compound all the way up until you decide to retire at, say, age 60 or 65. In the meantime, you simply work to cover your expenses and you coast your way to retirement. Now, the great thing about this method is that you can aggressively invest and build up your portfolio up front, and it doesn't have to be the amount that you're gonna use in retirement because you're gonna give your portfolio time to grow and compound. Sometimes this can even take decades. In the meantime, you'll be able to work a job or career that you're passionate about, even though it might not pay as much, because you don't have to worry about investing into your retirement because you already built up your portfolio. You simply just have to make sure that you have enough to cover your expenses and that you're enjoying what you do. And from that perspective, you don't have to quit your job because you love doing it. Slow FIRE. FIRE for the chill. And last but not least, you have slow FIRE, also known as slow-fi. And this is essentially FIRE at 80%. You still want to retire early, but maybe not too early. Instead of retiring at 40, you might want to retire at 50. Slow FIRE is a great option for those who want to take their time and they want to enjoy their life. They don't want the pressure of having to achieve early retirement in 10 years, but they'd rather take 20 years to achieve early retirement so that they can stop and smell the roses along the way, so that they can take those trips, so that they can enjoy their 20s and 30s. But slow-fi still allows you to be a little bit more aggressive than the traditional retirement timeline in that you're able to still have a higher savings rate than normal, and you're able to still invest aggressively to grow your portfolio so you're able to retire early. So I find slow-fi to be a very balanced approach, and I find that it's really good for those that aren't really that good under pressure, or they do just want to take their time. They're in no rush to retire. They don't want to be retired at 30, but 50 is early enough for them. So what's the best way to retire early? Truth be told, there is no best way, and that is the beauty of FIRE and the FIRE movement. FIRE is so subjective and personal, and it really depends on what you want, what your goals are. Not everyone has the same financial goals. Not everyone wants to be retired at 30 and travel the world. Some people just want to be able to supplement their early retirement by working. Others might want to have early retirement built up so that they can have a cushion to be able to start that business they've always wanted to start. So it really depends on what you want and what your goals are. So my advice for anyone who is seeking early retirement is Definitely go through the different options and scenarios and find out which one resonates with you. Once you choose a FIRE method that is suitable for you, just know that even that method is flexible. You could use it as a framework and a guide to lead you to your own version of early retirement. Now, there's a whole lot more that I could say about each method of early retirement, but I just wanted to give you a quick overview in this video. But let me know in the comments below if you want me to go into greater detail on any one of these methods, and I'll definitely consider making a video in the future. And watch this video right here to see my plan to achieve financial independence by hitting $1.5 million in the next 8 years. It's a bold plan, I know, but I think I can do it. So make sure you watch this video to see if my plan is crazy or if it's possible. And I'll see you in the next video. Peace.